The cafe had grown quieter with each passing minute, the soft hum of conversation fading into the background as the evening stretched on. She sat by the window, her fingers wrapped around a cup of coffee that had long since gone cold, her eyes flickering toward the door every few seconds. 2 hours. She had been waiting for 2 full hours, and still no sign of him. The blind date her friend had insisted on. He's perfect for you, she'd said, was beginning to feel like a cruel joke. Outside, the streetlights cast a warm glow against the glass, reflecting her own anxious expression back at her. She adjusted her hair for the 3rd time, smoothing it behind her ear, then glanced down at her phone. No messages, no missed calls, just silence. A part of her wanted to leave, to stand up, walk out, and never think about this again. But another part, the stubborn, hopeful part, kept her rooted in that chair. What if he's just late? She whispered to herself, though even she didn't believe it anymore. The waiter approached gently, offering a sympathetic smile. "Would you like to order anything else?" he asked. She hesitated, embarrassed. "No, I'm still waiting for someone." He nodded, but his eyes carried understanding, the kind that made her feel exposed. As he walked away, she sighed deeply, her shoulders slumping. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe blind dates were never meant for people like her. Just as she reached for her bag, ready to give up, the bell above the cafe door chimed. Her heart skipped. She looked up instinctively, expecting to see someone confident, charming, someone who matched the image her friend had painted. But instead, a man stepped inside who didn't fit any of those expectations. His clothes were simple, slightly worn, and he looked around hesitantly, as if unsure he belonged there at all. There was something in his eyes, though something deep, searching. For a moment, she frowned, assuming he must be looking for someone else. But then his gaze landed on her, and he smiled. Not the polished, practiced smile she had imagined, but something genuine, almost nervous. He walked toward her table, slowly, each step measured, and her confusion only grew stronger. This couldn't be him. There had to be some mistake. "Hi," he said softly, stopping in front of her. "I'm sorry I'm late." Her breath caught. This was him, and suddenly, everything she had expected shattered in an instant, replaced by a strange, unexplainable feeling that made her heart race, not from disappointment, but from something far more unsettling: shock. For a few seconds, she couldn't say anything. Her mind was still trying to catch up with the reality in front of her. This man, quiet, simply dressed, slightly out of breath, was not the version she had imagined during those long 2 hours of waiting. And yet, here he was, standing awkwardly beside her table, holding on to a sincerity that felt impossible to ignore. "You're late," she finally said, her voice calmer than she felt. "I know," he replied, lowering his gaze briefly, "and I understand if you're upset. You have every right to be." There was no excuse in his tone, no rushed justification, just honesty. It caught her off guard. Most people would have tried to smooth things over with charm or humor, but he didn't. He simply stood there, accepting the weight of his mistake. She hesitated, then gestured to the empty chair across from her. "Sit." Relief flickered across his face as he pulled the chair back and sat down carefully, as if afraid the moment might disappear if he moved too quickly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence felt heavy, but not entirely uncomfortable. "I almost left," she admitted, glancing down at her hands. "I thought you would," he said quietly. "I wouldn't have blamed you." She looked up at him again, studying his face more closely this time. There was something unusual about him, not just his appearance, but the way he carried himself. A kind of quiet weight, like someone who had seen more than he said. "So, what happened?" she asked, leaning back slightly. He paused, as if choosing his words carefully. "I was on my way here on time," he began, "but something unexpected came up." He gave a small, apologetic smile. "I know, that sounds like a typical excuse." "It does," she replied, raising an eyebrow. "But it's the truth," he added gently. She crossed her arms, still unsure whether to believe him. 2 hours is a long, unexpected delay. He nodded. "I know." Another pause followed, but this time it felt different, like something important was sitting just beneath the surface, waiting to be revealed. "I almost didn't come at all," he continued softly. "Not because I didn't want to, but because I wasn't sure I should." That caught her attention. "Why?" she asked. He met her eyes, and for the first time, there was something intense in his expressions. Something honest, almost vulnerable. "Because I don't think I'm the kind of person your friend described to you," he said. She blinked, her curiosity growing stronger. "Then why come?" He took a slow breath, his fingers tightening slightly on the edge of the table. "Because even if I'm not who you expected, I didn't want to be someone who never showed up at all." His words settled between them, simple yet unexpectedly powerful, and in that moment, her frustration began to shift just slightly into something else. Something like understanding. The tension between them softened, slowly dissolving into something quieter, more thoughtful. She leaned back in her chair, studying him in a way she hadn't allowed herself to before. The irritation she had carried for 2 hours was still there, but now it was mixed with curiosity and something unfamiliar that made her hesitate before judging him too quickly. "So," she said after a moment, her tone gentler now, "you came anyway, even though you thought you shouldn't." He nodded, his eyes briefly dropping to the table. "Yeah, I figured being honest in person was better than disappearing." She let out a small breath, almost a laugh. "You know, most people would have just sent a message, or nothing at all." "I almost did," he admitted, "but that didn't feel right." There was a pause. This time, it felt lighter. The waiter returned, and, without thinking too much, she ordered a fresh cup of coffee. After a second of hesitation, she glanced at him. "Do you want something?" He looked surprised, then nodded slightly. "Just tea, please." As the waiter walked away, she realized something had changed. The night she had nearly walked away from was still unfolding, and not in the way she expected. "You still haven't told me what delayed you," she said, tilting her head. He inhaled slowly, as if preparing himself. "I was at the hospital," he said. Her expression shifted instantly. "Hospital? My younger sister," he explained. "She's been sick for a while. Today, it got a little worse." His voice remained steady, but there was a quiet strain beneath it. "I couldn't just leave her there." The pieces fell into place, and the frustration she had been holding on to finally loosened its grip. She felt a flicker of guilt for assuming the worst. "You could have told me," she said softly. "I know," he replied, "but I didn't want you to feel obligated to wait. I thought, if you left, it would be fair." She looked at him for a long moment, seeing him clearly now as the wrong man who arrived late, but as someone carrying responsibilities she hadn't imagined. "That's not what I expected," she admitted. A faint smile touched his lips. "I told you, I'm not who you expected." She smiled back just a little. "No, you're not." Their drinks arrived, steam rising gently between them, filling the silence with a quiet warmth. For the first time that night, she didn't feel like leaving. In fact, she felt strangely glad she had stayed. "Maybe," she said, wrapping her hands around the cup. "That's not such a bad thing." He looked at her, surprised but hopeful. And just like that, what began as a disappointing wait turned into something neither of them had planned, but both were willing to explore.